Well, hi there. This is Ron Rogers, and I want to tell you about a recent experience that I had. Wife and I were walking down the streets, and these kids started yelling, "Hey, hey, boomer! Hey, hey, boomer!" And I'm thinking, that's amazing. How did they know that I was somebody who had flown supersonic? I think the ability of youth today to see greatness is just amazing because, well, okay, obviously you can tell I'm a boomer by the outfit here. I don't even have to show you my fighter pilot checklist there that I keep strapped to my leg. But I've got on the fighter pilot hat here that keeps the sun out of your eyes and keeps your ear warm. Well, let me take that off. And of course, fighter pilot sunglasses. You can tell a fighter pilot because of the glasses most of the time. Although there are a few people out there who they wear these and they aren't fighter pilots. So let me put on the oh that's much better, and the scarf. I wasn't wearing the fighter pilot scarf. That would have given it away right away. And I wasn't going around showing my numerous air medals. And well, actually, this isn't an air medal. It's a National Defense ribbon. I only got this because I joined ROTC at the time of the Vietnam War. And the thing you want to do, if there's a conflict going on, get involved in something where the training takes longer than the conflict. So by the time you're out of training, because it takes a long time training a pilot, by the time you're out of training, the war's over. Okay, and it was. By the time I got out, the war was over, and I got out before the next Gulf War started, so I had total peacetime. And this is kind of all you get if you're running the snack bar. So what are you going to say? But the thing that got me that these youths could actually identify just by looking at me that I was a jet pilot. And, I have that look, steely-eyed, well, he still said the other way, steely-eyed look of a jet pilot, John Wayne, of course. Who's better to portray a pilot than John Wayne? And, of course, the women look at us, but we don't care. But now, I spent a lot of time booming. Now, the thing that amazed me is it's been 46 years since the last time I did any booming. First time I did booming as a student pilot was 26 years after it had first been done by Chuck Yeager. I'll talk about that in a second. And of course, that was a Blue Angel you saw there at the lead in. Now, I never flew for the Blue Angels, but as I mentioned some other videos, I got to fly a Blue Angel aircraft. See, when the Blue Angels wear them out, because they're kind of rough on them, the way they do that air show stuff, they're kind of rough on them. And when they get them all worn out, they give them to NASA. Or they give them to places like Edwards that puts them on the flight line because they're kind of been a little bastardized with modifications like rudder limiter override switches on the F4. So we had, I think, 5 of them at Edwards that were Thunderbird aircraft that were, nobody else wanted them because they were kind of hodged up, but I'm digressing there. But anyway, so I've got to fly Thunderbird and Blue Angel aircraft, having not been in it. But I think it was interesting that the kids were going, "Hey, boomer," because they could have just easily said, "Hey, zoomer." Because I've gone straight up, and when you go straight up, you're kind of zooming, so I could have been a zoomer. But then I thought, no. They would have, that's too close to zoomy, which is what the Academy graduates are called. They're zoomy. So boomer is a lot better than zoomer because it's too close to zoomies. But the thing that amazed me was these kids, these young, youthy type kids, actually had such an appreciation for not only subsonic airfoil, but transonic airfoil, and they actually had enough appreciation of the aerodynamic characteristics of supersonic airflow and airfoils that they could appreciate somebody who obviously is someone who had mastered flying faster than the speed of sound. Because, most of these kids, they're going to end up in dead-end jobs. They're I feel sorry for them. They're going to end up dead-end jobs, and they're going to go prematurely bald and stuff like that. It's just sad. But for those of us who are boomers, it's amazing that they could tell just by looking at me because, they all know. They all know this guy over here, that guy over there. It's like looking in the mirror, right? It's like we're identical twins, except his hair color is a little off. Okay. So that's what's going on. But let's go back to the beginning of boomerism. So there it is. That's Edwards Air Force Base. And the X-1, that's the original airplane that the booming was done in. And this was the original boomer right here, Chuck Yeager. And I actually had the chance when I was out at Edwards as a pilot to actually, he would set in for General Stafford. When General Stafford went on vacation, I would brief him on what was going off on the test ranges that day in the base meeting there. So I actually got to interact with him a little bit. But this guy first went supersonic October 14th, 1947. And I was only 26 years later, which actually, when you look at it, is, fairly close when you consider now we're looking at roughly 72 years after the first supersonic flight. But there's my Mach Busters certificate I got because I went supersonic for the first time in 5th December of 1973. Now, by then, supersonic flight was real easy. In fact, when I first went out to Edwards, I hadn't flown the T-38 in a few years, so I'm getting checked out. And Dick Scobie there, the Challenger commander, was giving me a checkout. And we're up in the local area, we're doing things, and he says, well, let's go back and get some patterns. So I'm probably less than 30,000 feet or so, but the base is right down there. So I go, okay, and I roll it over, pull the power to idle, put the nose down, fairly vertical, not like I do with the airlines because people don't like it when they're hanging, by the straps and you're going 80 degrees nose down. But I ended up going supersonic in idle power. Okay, 26 years after they went to great efforts to go supersonic, I'm doing it in idle power. That's how much technology has advanced. And Dick said to me, he says, well, we really shouldn't be going supersonic here. And I go, oh, yeah, sorry about that. So I slowed it down. But the nice thing about it was Edwards was a very nice place. And we had a lot of missions. And I did a lot of missions where we went supersonic. But every once in a while, we just went out and we found a little patch of the desert that wasn't occupied. And amazingly, the desert is very occupied. It's amazing. But we found a little stretch that didn't look too occupied. We'd go booming. I think we're about 100 feet here, and we're a little bit over Mach 1. You can't see it because it's a still photo. Still photos, you can't tell that you're going real fast like that. But we were going supersonic. I took a picture of it to capture the fantastic event. And, of course, it doesn't show it because, it's a still photo. But anyway, there were a lot of missions where we went supersonic. And it was, a very often occurrence back then. And, of course, I lived on base like a lot of people did. And we had these swamp coolers back then. Now, this housing area... it's all been flattened. It's gone. I mean, it's returned to the desert. The streets are gone. The lawns are gone. All the buildings are gone. It's amazing. It was kind of scary. It's gone. But at the time, we had swamp coolers. Now, this is a swamp cooler. It uses evaporated cooling. Gives you about 15 degrees. So on certain days in the summer, it wasn't too great. But the desert is so dry. These evaporated coolers worked very well. But to make them work, of course, all your windows had to be open. We had these big windows in the houses. They're 3 feet by 4 feet, glass, and the pane there, when you get a sonic boom, they would just rattle. Well, we've been out there quite a few months, and booms were a daily, sometimes almost hourly occurrence, and we're used to it, and my folks come out to visit. And we're all sitting around in the living room, and the B-1 goes by, and it makes a decent boom. Well, both of my parents jumped up. My wife and I are sitting there. The dog is laying down. None of us are moving. And it's like, what? And they kind of look and go, what was that? And I said, oh, that was just a sonic boom. And it was so common that not even the dog used to jump up, run around, look at its tail, wonder what was going on. But then even the dog got used to the sonic booms, and it wouldn't wake up from a nap. So like I said, was doing booms all the time. Chasing things, doing booms. I was doing booms on test missions. We just had all sorts of stuff, had a lot of fun. But then, I started to think, these kids probably, they weren't born the last time I went supersonic. How did they know I was truly a boomer? Well, I started to think, maybe they were referring to something else. Yeah, it finally dawns on me. They might be referring to something else. Yep, they were thinking these guys here. These guys... The sub guys, the big tubes full of semen, these sub guys, they're boomers. And of course, you know why they're boomers? Because they launch these missiles. And yeah, I make a little boom. These guys make big booms. big, big boom. So when it comes to being a boomer, I shy in comparison. And the subs they got are full of it. So these guys were the boomers, but um, I didn't think that I really looked like a Navy guy. I think I look really Air Force. I didn't look like a Navy guy, so maybe it was a simple mistake they made. So I chalked off to, maybe they thought it was a Navy guy. Anyway, that's my discussion of being a boomer and how I appreciate that the youth of today can truly appreciate my addition to humanity as being a boomer. Thanks for watching.